What if history could speak? What if the photos you're about to see could whisper the stories they've buried for decades? Tonight, we uncover haunting images from the past, a chilling reminder of the human cost of war. Every frame holds a secret. Stay with us as we peel back the layers of one of the darkest chapters in history. A photo of young German children in Nazi youth uniforms, their faces hardened by obedience. In 1933, the Nazi regime used the Hitler Youth to teach children they were superior to Jews. Propaganda turned them against friends and families, spreading hatred and betrayal. This image captures a generation forever shaped by lies, with futures destroyed by the poison of hatred. A photo of the gates of Hadamar stand as a chilling reminder of the first Nazi euthanasia site. In 1939, the Nazis began their Action T4 program here, murdering thousands of vulnerable people under the guise of medical care. This dark chapter marks the start of the Nazi regime's cruelty, where lives were taken without mercy. The cold indifference to human life echoes through history, reminding us of the horrific depths of Nazi ideology. This shows the Jewish families at a French train station, torn from their homes in 1940. The deportation of Jews from France began, sending them to death camps. In this moment of fear, their fate was sealed, marking the start of a horrific journey. The desperation in their eyes reflects the beginning of their torment, forever etched in the story of the Holocaust. What would you do if your entire life was ripped away in a single moment? This haunting photo unveils a forgotten chapter of persecution. A photo of terrified Romani families, forcefully loaded onto trucks in 1940. The Nazis targeted the Romani people, deporting them to camps where they would face death. This image captures the sorrow of those ripped from their lives. Their suffering is a tragic part of the forgotten history of persecution that haunted Europe during the war. Historical glimpse of Josef Gabčík, defiant against Nazi oppression in 1942. Gabčík's courageous act in the assassination of Reinhard Heydrich sent shockwaves through the Nazi regime, proving that even in the darkest times, resistance could ignite hope. He became a symbol of bravery, showing that resistance was not only possible, but essential. A photo of the Soviet prisoners of war in Mauthausen, gaunt and broken by abuse. From 1941, Soviet prisoners were treated brutally at Nazi camps like Mauthausen. Starved, tortured, and worked to death, they endured unimaginable suffering under the Nazis' cruelty. Their suffering remains a stark reminder of the horrors faced by countless innocent lives during the war. The picture of the prisoners lined up in concentration camps, each marked with a number. In the early years of the Holocaust, the Nazis introduced a prisoner identification system that stripped away humanity, reducing people to mere numbers. This dehumanizing system serves as a chilling reminder of the Nazis' cruelty and their quest to erase individual identity. This photo reflects Jewish fighters in the Warsaw Ghetto, bravely resisting Nazi forces in 1943. Jewish resistance in the Warsaw Ghetto rose up against the Nazis in a desperate stand for survival in 1943. Though the uprising was crushed, their courage became a symbol of defiance against oppression. Their struggle remains a powerful testament to the human spirit, even in the face of certain defeat. This shows a pile of worn shoes, a silent witness to the lives lost. At Flossenburg, the shoes left behind in the chaos of the Flossenburg camp tell a heartbreaking story of the victims who once wore them. They are a silent yet powerful symbol of the millions whose lives were cut short by Nazi brutality. What stories could these shoes tell if they could speak? Each pair is a haunting reminder of lives lost to unimaginable cruelty. Glimpse of Jewish women marked for forced labor at Auschwitz in 1940. In Auschwitz, Jewish women were cruelly selected for forced labor, enduring grueling work under inhumane conditions. This heartbreaking moment reflects the harsh reality of life in the camp, where survival often meant unbearable suffering. A historical photo of Jacqueline Morgenstern, a young victim of Nazi medical experiments in Auschwitz. Jacqueline Morgenstern, like many others, was subjected to horrific medical experiments at Auschwitz, a fate that ultimately led to her death. Her story serves as a haunting reminder of the cruelty and inhumanity faced by innocent people under the Nazis' twisted experiments. Photo of Jewish prisoners confined behind barbed wire at Auschwitz-Birkenau. Behind the barbed wire of Auschwitz-Birkenau, Jewish prisoners endured constant suffering, were separated from their loved ones, and faced an uncertain, often brutal fate. This image captures the desperate isolation and anguish that marked the lives of those imprisoned in Nazi death camps. A Roma victim left scarred by Nazi seawater experiments at Dachau. At Dachau, Nazi doctors subjected Roma prisoners to cruel seawater experiments, hoping to find ways to prolong survival at sea. This tragic chapter in history highlights the Nazis' obsession with pseudoscience and their utter disregard for human life. Don't forget to subscribe to the Timeless Frames channel to know more about the brutal history that will shock you. Jewish children rescued by aid organizations during the war, seeking refuge in 1943. In 1943, Jewish children were rescued by humanitarian organizations, offering them a chance at life in the midst of global chaos. These young lives, saved from the horrors of Nazi persecution, represent the tireless efforts to protect the innocent. Soviet prisoners of war subjected to inhumane tuberculosis experiments at Nazi camps. Soviet prisoners of war were used as human guinea pigs in Nazi tuberculosis experiments, enduring unspeakable suffering in the name of so-called medical research. This inhumanity highlights the brutal exploitation of prisoners of war under the Nazi regime. Jewish prisoners toiling in Nazi camps, making shoes for the regime. Slave labor in the Nazi camps saw Jewish prisoners forced into grueling work, making shoes for the soldiers who would contribute to their oppression. This relentless labor represents the cruel exploitation and suffering that millions endured in silence. What emotions filled this moment of liberation amidst unimaginable loss? Tell us in the comments section. A historical picture reflecting Woblin camp survivors greeting their liberators in 1945. In April 1945, U.S. forces liberated the Woblin concentration camp, where prisoners were emaciated and broken from years of abuse. The joy of liberation is tempered by the immense loss and the lives destroyed by Nazi cruelty. An elderly Jewish woman emancipated from a Nazi concentration camp, standing amidst the aftermath in 1945. After the liberation of a Nazi camp in 1945, an elderly Jewish woman, frail and scarred, stood alone, free but forever marked by her experiences. Her survival is a testament to human resilience, even after enduring the worst horrors imaginable. A family captured during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943, moments before their fates were sealed. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943 saw a final, desperate stand by families, including children, who fought to resist the Nazis' brutality. Their courage and sacrifice echo through history, reminding us of their unyielding spirit in the face of annihilation. Jewish children, forever scarred by the horrific medical experiments carried out by Nazi doctors. The doctors' experiments left many children scarred, both physically and mentally, like this innocent child, who was subjected to their cruel research. This tragic image reflects the unimaginable suffering of young victims in Nazi death camps. A glimpse of mass graves at Bergen-Belsen, a haunting reminder of the many lives lost during the Holocaust. After the liberation of Bergen-Belsen in 1945, mass graves revealed the sheer scale of the atrocities committed by the Nazis. This chilling discovery serves as a permanent reminder of the lives stolen and the destruction wrought by Nazi genocide. Joseph Kramer, the notorious butcher of Belsen, was captured and brought to trial after the war. Joseph Kramer, responsible for the atrocities at Bergen-Belsen, was arrested and tried in 1945, facing justice for his brutal crimes. His capture symbolized the beginning of accountability for those who participated in the Nazi regime's horrors. Jewish survivors in displaced persons camps pleaded to return to their homeland after the war. In the years after the war, Jewish survivors in displaced persons camps called for a return to their ancestral homeland, yearning to rebuild their lives. The establishment of Israel in 1948 provided a long-awaited sanctuary and a symbol of hope for a new beginning. What dreams of a new life fueled the resilience of Holocaust survivors? Let's see this photo. What does it take to rebuild after such a loss? Subscribe now to witness powerful stories of survival and reunion. A glimpse of Sinida Grossman, a Holocaust survivor, reuniting with her family after the war at Kloster Indersdorf. After the war, Sinida Grossman was among many survivors who at Kloster Indersdorf were reunited with lost family members. The joy of reunion was tempered by the sorrow of remembering what had been lost, as survivors tried to piece together their broken lives. Gertruda Baliska, honored as righteous among the nations for her courageous acts during the war. Gertruda Baliska risked her life to protect Jews from the Nazi regime, ultimately earning the title of righteous among the nations. Her bravery is a reminder of the countless individuals who stood against tyranny, risking everything to save others. Dr. Joseph Joxy, who defied the Nazis to save lives during the Holocaust, remembered for his courage. Dr. Joseph Joxy, recognized by Yad Vashem for his efforts to save Jews during the war, exemplifies the courage and humanity that stood against the horrors of the Holocaust. His actions provide a shining example of the difference one individual can make in a world full of darkness. A glimpse of Bert and Anne Bokhoff, Dutch heroes who saved Jews during the Holocaust, later honored for their bravery. Bert and Anne Bokhoff, courage during the Holocaust, hiding Jewish families and helping them escape, saved countless lives. Their actions remind us of the power of compassion in a world torn apart by hatred. What drove these refugees to take the perilous journey toward freedom after the horrors of the Holocaust? If you know, comment below. Jewish refugees, filled with hope, boarding the SS Muzinho to escape Nazi-occupied Europe in 1946. In 1946, Jewish refugees sought freedom by boarding ships like the SS Muzinho, escaping the horrors of the past and beginning a new life. These refugees, with their hopes for a better future, embody the resilience of the human spirit in the aftermath of the Holocaust. A Holocaust survivor shedding tears on the 75th anniversary of Auschwitz's liberation in 2020. The 75th anniversary of Auschwitz's liberation in 2020 was a moment for survivors to reflect on their painful past and the long journey toward healing. The tears of survivors serve as a poignant reminder of the suffering endured and the strength required to move forward. A photo of Nazi guards at the Bergen-Belsen trial, held accountable for their crimes in September 1945. In 1945, the Bergen-Belsen trials brought Nazi guards to justice for their role in the horrific conditions at the camp. These trials marked the beginning of post-war efforts to hold Nazi perpetrators accountable for their crimes. The infamous Gate of Death at Auschwitz, where so many lives met their tragic end in 1945. The Gate of Death at Auschwitz symbolizes the mass murder of millions during the Holocaust, where trains of victims entered, never to return. This gate remains a powerful symbol of the horrors of the death camps and the genocide of European Jewry. Gino Bartali, a cycling champion who risked his life to rescue Jews during the Holocaust. Italian cycling champion Gino Bartali is remembered not just for his victories, but for his brave efforts to save Jews from Nazi persecution. His courage on and off the bike showcases the extraordinary impact of ordinary heroes during the darkest times in history. The steamship St. Louis, carrying Jewish refugees, was denied asylum and forced to return to Europe in 1939. In 1939, the SS St. Louis, filled with Jewish refugees seeking freedom, was denied entry to Cuba and forced to return to Europe, where many passengers perished in the Holocaust. This tragic journey highlights the world's indifference and failure to protect those fleeing Nazi persecution. Jewish refugees from Germany finding shelter in Shanghai as they flee Nazi persecution. During the Holocaust, Jewish refugees found an unlikely sanctuary in Shanghai, where they escaped the horrors of the Nazis. Shanghai stands as a rare beacon of hope, offering a lifeline to those with nowhere else to go. What did it mean for the world when the masterminds behind the Holocaust were finally held accountable? Just think, a historical photo of Nazi officers at the Nuremberg trials finally facing justice for their roles in the Holocaust. In 1945, the Nuremberg trials marked the first time that top Nazi officials were held accountable for war crimes. These trials set the foundation for international law and human rights, ensuring that such atrocities would never be allowed to happen again. A Jewish family joyously reunited after years of separation during the Holocaust. After the war, many Jewish families were reunited, often in displaced persons camps, where they found each other after years of separation. This reunion symbolizes not only the triumph of the human spirit, but the emotional toll that the Holocaust took on so many. This photo reflects Allied forces landing on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944. On June 6, 1944, the Allied forces launched the largest seaborne invasion in history, landing on Normandy's beaches. This decisive moment marked the beginning of the end for Nazi control over Europe, but also came with tremendous loss and sacrifice. Holocaust survivors in a makeshift hospital in 1945, recovering from years of malnutrition and abuse, survival came at a cost. Many faced years of illness, poverty, and alienation after the war. The resilience of these individuals shone through as they worked to overcome the immense psychological and physical toll of their suffering. A picture of U.S. soldiers standing at the gates of Dachau, documenting the aftermath. Liberation wasn't just about freeing survivors, it was about bearing witness to the truth. The soldiers who liberated Dachau and other camps carried the burden of ensuring these horrors were never forgotten, using photographs and testimony to keep history alive. Thanks for watching.